You know what's funny? Most of the time, when a woman is thinking about you nonstop, she's not going to tell you directly. She's not going to send a message that says, "Hey, I can't stop thinking about you." Instead, she'll send signals, tiny, almost invisible behaviors that give away what's happening inside her mind. And here's the part most men miss. These signals aren't always the obvious ones you read about online. In fact, some of them are so subtle that you can stand right in front of her and have no idea she's mentally replaying every little interaction you've had together. So let me start with this. Imagine for a moment there's a woman in your life right now, maybe a friend, maybe someone you met recently, or maybe someone you've known for a while, and lately, something about her behavior has shifted. You can't quite put your finger on it, but it's like there's an invisible thread pulling her toward you. She finds excuses to be around you, she lingers in conversations, and sometimes you catch her looking at you in a way that feels almost electric. That's not random, that's not coincidence, that's psychology at work. And today, I'm going to break it down so you can finally recognize when she's thinking about you more than she's willing to admit. Before we dive in, I just want to say, if you're someone who wants to understand women on a deeper psychological level, if you want to pick up on the hidden cues most guys completely miss, then make sure you subscribe to Psychology of Desire right now. Because the truth is, attraction isn't about guessing, it's about reading the signs. And once you know how to read them, the entire game changes in your favor. Now, here's the first thing you need to understand. When a woman is thinking about you constantly, it creates a change in her behavior that she can't fully control. And the very first sign is what I call micro-presence. That's when she starts showing up in your world more than she used to. This doesn't always mean she's physically in front of you. It can mean she starts liking more of your social media posts, reacting to things she would have ignored before, or even popping into group chats just to see what you're saying. Her presence begins to feel everywhere, almost like she's orbiting your life without making it too obvious. Here's where psychology kicks in. The human brain is wired for patterns, and when someone's attention keeps circling back to the same person, they unconsciously start seeking ways to maintain contact. It's not something she plans in advance, her attraction is pulling her toward you. Another subtle thing she might do? She creates low-effort reasons to interact with you. Maybe she asks you about something she could easily Google. Maybe she accidentally texts you when it was meant for someone else. Or she sends you a random meme that reminded her of you. That's her way of keeping you in her orbit without coming right out and saying, "I wanted to talk to you." Now, here's where most men get it wrong. They think if she's not being overly flirty or vocal about her attraction, then she's probably not interested. But the truth is, many women, especially if they're unsure of your feelings, will try to keep it under the radar. They want to stay connected without putting all their cards on the table. Let's get into a deeper layer here, because some of the strongest signs she's thinking about you nonstop happen when you're not around. For example, pay attention to how quickly she responds to your messages. If you text her and she replies almost instantly, especially late at night, or during times she'd normally be busy, that tells you something. It means your name lighting up her phone is a high priority in her mind. Another huge psychological tell: she remembers the tiniest details about you. You might have mentioned your favorite snack once in passing, or the name of your childhood pet, or a goal you're working toward, and then out of nowhere, she brings it up weeks later. That's not coincidence. That's because when she's thinking about you, her brain is collecting and storing these little pieces of information, almost like she's building a mental file on you. And here's something you might not expect. When a woman's thoughts are tied up in you, she sometimes slips into what psychologists call mirroring. This is when she subconsciously imitates your gestures, your speech patterns, or even your energy level. It's her brain's way of creating a connection without her even realizing it. You might notice she starts using the same phrases you do, laughing in a similar rhythm, or even ordering the same drink. These aren't random, they're subconscious attraction cues. One of the more advanced signs, and this one flies under almost every guy's radar, is emotional displacement. This happens when she's thinking about you so much that her emotions start leaking out in indirect ways. For example, she might get unusually quiet around you, not because she's uninterested, but because she's trying to keep her feelings in check. Or she might seem extra playful and teasing, almost like she's overcompensating. Both extremes are a sign that she's feeling something intense and trying to manage it. There's also the physical aspect. If you're in the same space, watch for what her body does without her thinking. Does she angle her body toward you, even when she's talking to someone else? Does she tilt her head slightly when you speak, showing she's tuned in? Does she find reasons to be within your physical proximity? The body is an honest storyteller, even when the mind is trying to play it cool. And here's a little insider tip from behavioral psychology. When someone is thinking about you constantly, they often experience microbursts of dopamine just from seeing you or hearing from you. And those microbursts make them want more of that interaction, which is why you might notice her reaching out at random times just to keep the connection alive. Now let's move into the territory most guys never notice, the deep, subconscious giveaways that a woman's mind keeps circling back to you. These are the signs that don't just hint at attraction. They scream it, even if her words are saying something completely different. One of the strongest, the preemptive reaction. This is when she reacts to you before you've even done something. Let me explain. Maybe you're about to speak and she's already smiling like she knows you're going to say something funny. Or you start moving in a certain direction and she instinctively adjusts her position to stay near you. These are micro adjustments that happen because she's tuned in. Her brain has already placed you in a position of importance, so she anticipates and adapts to your movements without thinking. Then there's the strategic appearance. If she's thinking about you constantly, you'll start noticing she just happens to be where you are, whether that's the coffee shop near your gym, the hallway outside your office, or even at events she previously had no interest in. This isn't coincidence. This is her placing herself in your proximity to increase the chances of interaction. In her mind, every accidental encounter is an opportunity to reinforce the connection. Psychology calls this exposure effect. The more often we're around someone, the more we feel bonded to them. If she's consciously or subconsciously using this, it means she's actively trying to keep herself in your mental space as much as you're in hers. Another powerful sign, she subtly shifts her appearance when she knows she'll see you. You might not notice at first, but maybe she changes her hairstyle, wears a fragrance you once complimented, or dresses in a way that aligns with your taste. This isn't just about looking good, it's about looking good for you. Attraction often makes people more self-aware of how they're perceived, and when you're the one she's thinking about, you're the invisible audience behind her style choices. Now, let's talk about selective vulnerability. When someone's thinking about you constantly, they tend to let their guard down in ways they wouldn't with others. She might open up about personal dreams, struggles, or fears she normally keeps private. Why? Because in her mind, she's building intimacy, even if she's not ready to call it that. By sharing those pieces of herself, she's inviting you deeper into her world. But there's a fascinating flip side, selective mystery. Sometimes, instead of opening up completely, she might hold back certain details on purpose, not to push you away, but to keep you curious. This is a psychological push-pull dynamic that keeps you thinking about her as much as she's thinking about you. It's attraction in its most strategic form, and many women do it instinctively. One of the most telling patterns you can spot is energy redirection. Here's what I mean. Let's say you're in a group conversation and she's not directly talking to you. Even then, her body language shifts slightly toward you. Her laughter is louder at your jokes than anyone else's, and she makes eye contact with you while responding to someone else. This shows you where her attention really is, no matter how casual the situation looks. And don't underestimate the lingering goodbye. If every time you part ways, she stretches out the moment, maybe she slows her walking pace, finds one more thing to say, or gives you that last look over her shoulder, that's not just politeness. That's reluctance to break the connection. People who aren't invested say goodbye quickly and move on. People who are invested don't want to. Here's something most men completely overlook post-interaction behavior. When she's thinking about you nonstop, the interaction doesn't end when you walk away. She might text you later referencing something you said earlier, like, "By the way, I thought of what you mentioned," or "I forgot to tell you." This is her keeping the conversation alive after the fact. It's her mind refusing to let go of the moment you shared. Sometimes you'll even notice emotional inconsistencies. She might act super engaged with you one moment, then seem distant the next. Don't misread this as disinterest. Often it's because she's catching herself being too obvious and trying to pull back. It's a mental tug of war between wanting you to know and wanting to play it safe. One of my personal favorite signs, and the one that's almost impossible to fake, is the delayed smile. That's when she hears something from you, looks away for a second, and then starts smiling to herself. This isn't about being polite or responding in the moment. It's about your words or presence hitting her emotionally after a brief delay. That's a clear sign she's feeling something deeper than casual interest. And here's the golden rule. When multiple of these signs start stacking up, the strategic appearances, the micro presence, the mirroring, the lingering goodbyes, you can be almost certain she's not just casually thinking of you. You're running laps in her mind. But here's where the real power lies. It's not enough to notice these signs. The key is knowing how to respond in a way that builds attraction instead of killing it. And in part 3, I'm going to give you the psychology-backed moves you can make once you know she's thinking about you, the exact way to deepen the connection, heighten the tension, and make her obsession with you even stronger. So now you know the signs. You can see them in her body language, her voice, the way she positions herself around you, and even the way she lingers after saying goodbye. But the real question is, what do you do with this information? Because here's the truth most men don't realize. If you respond the wrong way, you can turn that constant mental replay she has of you into static. Her thoughts about you can shift from, I can't stop thinking about him, to, oh, I guess I misread him. And once that emotional thread snaps, it's almost impossible to repair. So the first move is matching her energy without overcommitting. Think of it like tuning a radio. If you dial in too aggressively, the signal gets distorted. If she's making subtle efforts to be around you, you mirror that subtly. You make your presence felt in a way that feels natural, not forced. This balance creates emotional congruence. She feels like you're in sync without you looking desperate. The second move is amplifying the moments she already enjoys about you. If she lights up when you tease her in a playful way, lean into that dynamic. If she seems deeply engaged when you share personal stories, open up a little more. What you're doing here is feeding the exact emotional loop that's already running in her head, making those mental replays more vivid and addictive. One of the most psychologically powerful tools you can use is strategic absence. See, attraction grows in space, not in constant presence. If she's thinking about you nonstop, it's because there are gaps where her mind fills in the missing pieces. If you flood those gaps with constant messages, calls, or attention, you remove the mystery. But if you give her just enough interaction to spark her imagination, her own mind will do the rest, replaying your words, your expressions, even your scent. This is why it's essential to be memorable in small doses. You don't need grand gestures or constant contact. Instead, leave her with moments that stick, a comment that makes her think, a look that lingers, or even an inside joke that only the two of you share. These are the mental hooks that keep you alive in her thoughts long after you've left the room. Another key, use emotional variety. When every interaction with you feels exactly the same, the brain starts to file it away as routine. But when there's a blend of playful banter, deep conversation, unexpected compliments, and even quiet moments, you create a dynamic, emotional profile that keeps her hooked. She never quite knows what she'll get, and that unpredictability is intoxicating. Here's something most guys miss. Don't rush the reveal. When a woman is thinking about you all the time, she's building an image of you in her mind, a mix of who you are and who she imagines you to be. If you lay everything out immediately, you collapse that mystery. Instead, let her discover you piece by piece. Drop hints about your life, your passions, your thoughts, but never give her the full map in one go. Now let's talk about moment escalation. When you're with her and you notice she's giving you those signs, leaning in, locking eyes, mirroring your movements, that's your opportunity to slightly increase the intimacy. Maybe you drop your voice lower, shorten the physical distance, or give a compliment that's a little more personal than before. These moments intensify the emotional charge, which in turn makes the memory of you even stronger when you're gone. And remember, timing beats intensity. It's not about how hard you push, it's about when you push. If she's showing those signs in a high energy moment, you match it. If she's showing them in a calm, reflective moment, you soften your approach. This attunement makes her feel like you just get her, and that's one of the most irresistible feelings a person can have. Finally, here's the unshakable truth. When a woman is thinking about you nonstop, you have two options: treat it as a fleeting ego boost, or recognize it as a chance to build something magnetic and lasting. The men who succeed in love and attraction don't waste these moments. They understand that desire is like a flame. It burns brightest when it's fed just the right amount of air and fuel. Too much or too little, and it fades. So next time you see those subtle signs, the lingering glance, the delayed smile, the accidental coincidences that aren't coincidences at all, don't just stand there wondering. Step into the moment, respond with confidence, and become the man she can't stop replaying in her mind, not just today, but tomorrow, and for weeks to come. And if you want to know exactly how to plant yourself in someone's thoughts even before they've realized they're attracted to you, then stay tuned for my next video, where I'm breaking down the art of psychological imprinting, the method that makes someone think of you long after you're gone.